What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, cloud swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are feeling good. We got Albert in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to Amy, Andrew, Andy, Bill's in the house. Good morning to Cheryl, Chris, Corey, Emily. Good morning to you, George. We got Jay, Jeff. The list is long today. We got JT, Lucian, Malik, Martina, Michelle. Good morning. We got Mike, Peter, Scott. My goodness, we are piling in bright and early on a Friday. All my people out YouTube land. Clarice, good morning. We got Brian in the house. Good morning to you. All my lurkers in the background of YouTube. That's okay. I still love you. Hit that like and subscribe buttons. But yeah. So interesting spot on the SPY. Interesting development on the SPY. Not really much movement. We're gapping down 30 cents so far. Nothing too crazy yet. We still got 27 minutes till the market opens. But um here's let's do some artwork today. Let's do a little drawing. Obviously, we have a pretty good uptrend, something to this effect. If we were to extend this out a little bit, it would look something similar to this, right? Clearly, we finally had our first breakdown. Okay, so this is our support, which means that's going to turn into resistance. We had the resistance here. We ended up breaking down one more time. And now, is this a retest of that breakdown? And this is on the horizon? Or can we get a new higher high? So that new higher high is going to be extremely, extremely important. We probably got a little bit back into that uptrend before we failed again. But if we can get a new higher high, we're running. We're to the moon. If this is just us closing the gap yesterday, we struggle a little bit. We might have a little bit more of a significant pullback downturn. This could also look a little bit head and shoulders as well. So that's what I'm kind of watching for. Today's going to be an important close just in terms of the weekly. But then next week, I think is going to be kind of dead. Probably not that much volume going on. Probably go a little slower on trades. There'll be something probably most early mornings, one or two good trades, gaps, news, something like that. But for the most part, as the day continues, and then as we get closer to Thanksgiving, volume is going to be insignificant. Is not going to be anything crazy whatsoever. But the question is this turning into a double top or not? If it does, again, I'd look for probably some kind of rollover here, and this is my neckline on this one. So maybe even a test back to here. We get to the uh-oh zone, and we either get saved somehow. Please, Nvidia, save us. Whatever. AMD, SMCI, somebody's got to save us, or we kind of bounce from there. Otherwise, yesterday, so far again, the result just kind of closed the gap up. But otherwise, we did retest right to this 587.45 zone. I would think that for today, you do have some support kind of holding us up before we get down there again. But 590.28, we have 587.98. We have back to that 587.27 zone. We've already now hit all of those. We can get back down to those lower levels, and we've also hit that lower level, so we can make it a little bit easier to break down if we're not going to go up. To the higher side, we have yesterday's VPOC sitting at 594.53. We still have some more additional resistance on us up to like 597.36. So a little resistance to get up there too, and we're opening pretty much back into the resistance. Same thing we did yesterday. Probably a little chop, maybe a little bit better risk reward to the bottom until we start breaking that 594.35 ish somewhere in that zone. So we'll see. We will see. Otherwise, Bulls at least stepped in where they had to yesterday, like they've been doing all year long. Every single dip gets bought. We will see. Qs, very similar. So we're still actually in the uptrend on this one. Not bad. We do have yesterday being a retest gap. We've sold off a little bit. We got a little bit below this 520 zone. I'd like to see that hold. And then for today, the first level of support that I got, if we do pull back, watch for like 503.29. To the higher side, we still have this little gap. We still got to close. We have not done that yet. And targets for the Qs take me to 510.49. Gapping down about 48 cents, so nothing too crazy. Let's see if we get some continued. I would like to see a little bit pull back, give me like a red candle, but nothing too crazy. And then we just kind of rally out of there to get through yesterday's VPOC of 505.34. So anything above 505.34, I want to remain long. Otherwise, I think maybe slight edge actually to the bear side. Very, very slight, more chop than anything. And then we'll see if the Bulls could step in coming into the end of the week. We will see. TLT, does the bond people want to buy any of this up? We're just kind of hanging in this range. We are gapping up 21, about less than 20 cents, 18 cents, something like that. It depends on where this thing opens, but still kind of in this just chop range. We're just gonna have that pressure of that 20 EMA, which we have not gotten past in a while. At least we got a little gap up here. We'll see if TLT can start to rally a little bit today, hopefully, but there is big resistance on that one, so probably a little chopzilla on that one. All right, let's see what tickers. We got T-Doc. Good old T-Doc with a big, massive daily inverted head and shoulders. They had earnings that were actually decent for the first time of their lives. I don't know if they made money. But they reported 640 million. Last quarter, they actually reported higher revenue, so it's a decline. They reported higher, that's a decline. Basically every quarter has been flat or a decline in revenue. That's not a just off the bat, that's not a great investing sentiment. So for the long term, I'd still put this in the I just can't do it column unless somehow you could see a path to profitability on this company. On a trade wise, interesting. We do have that inverted head and shoulders. We have really nothing holding us back up until about $12.83. I feel like this one probably has a high short float on it. Amazing close yesterday. We got almost 16% short float. And then I do have that daily 200 EMA that's going to sit somewhere around $11.51. So regardless, there's still at least another dollar. That's a 10% move off of roughly a 10% move off of a $10.50 stock, but really a good breakdown. This is a retest gap. Again, we know that probably that 200 is going to cause a little issue for it, so I will just call it $11.50. Maybe we get that pullback on this one, which would be see if we can find some kind of support around $10.24. The chart looks fantastic. The stock still looks like Teladoc. You could put a new chandelier in a haunted house, but it doesn't make it less haunted. Mm-hmm. But for trade wise, maybe. Let me see if I can get this one higher on the list just in case. I do like that short float. It's got plenty of room, another dollar on it. But I'm going to need some kind of a pullback first. Going to need a little bit. All right, let's see what else we got. Affirm. Andrew in YouTube land, good morning to you. We got Affirm is continuing higher, looks like. I don't really see much volume in the way of stopping. We have a little congestion over here from back in 2021. Let me see if there's an immediate peak over here. I think the next real target takes me to about 78.62. So we've got some room to the higher side. Again, this is a retest gap though. And like I said, I do want the market to pull back a tad. Nothing. I don't want a huge pullback. That's for sure. Not around the zones that we're in the market, because they will have some lasting effects, I think. Let's see if we get a pullback into like 66.13. Let's see if we can set on a little alert. And again, this would be for a day trade, not a investment. I wouldn't be able to pull a swing trade here. My stops really would have to be like 51, 55. But I think a day trade is available on it if we get a pullback and then we get some room on it. So let's see if we want to sell off a little bit, retrace a tad, and then we'll go from there. Otherwise, looks pretty good for continuation. But I wouldn't be buying it for me personally as soon as that bell rings. We got Roblox and Dell. Mm, Roblox and Dell. Um, it was not a amazing bullish close yesterday. That being said, it wasn't an awful close where the bears are really excited either, I don't think. You still stayed within this candle. That's where all your volume is. So if you were a bull getting in, especially toward the bottom, if you got in toward the top, you're losing a little bit, but you're not really freaking out, I think, until this candle breaks down. So that being said, this was a nice gap up on earnings. I would like to see the lows of yesterday holds. We are gapping above yesterday's VPOC. Um, inside day still. I think you have a little bit. I don't know. I don't know how excited I'd be to play this one. I guess if you love Roblox and you're like, man, this is gonna be an amazing company and everything is great. This is not a bad spot to buy it. Unfortunately, I'm not in that camp because I don't have any Robux. Nobody, if you try to pay your credit card bills in Robux, they look at you a certain way. But that being said, I think you actually have a little bit of a risk to reward to the bull side. Not sure how much that's going to go. I would put targets to like $50.67. So if that's giving you about a 1-to-1 risk to reward, maybe if you could buy it closer to like this 49.18, you might have a slightly tad better risk to reward on that one. So not bad. But yeah, I don't want to see yesterday's lows be taken out. The bulls did step in right at the bottom of that candle. Inside day, probably a little bit choppy. So if you're going to try to trade this one thing, I wouldn't be taking breakouts. I'd be looking for those pullbacks on Roblox. But we'll get that one a little bit higher in the list just so we can watch it. Intuit. IN. You could do it. Put your trade into it. Mm. Intuit is gapping down a little bit from earnings. They were actually looking more disgusting right when they reported. So they've actually rebounded quite a bit, believe it or not. Why does that look like the Nvidia chart after earnings? Much bigger of a gap down, but same. As soon as they reported, massive just tank, and then the bulls did what they do in 2024 so far to buying it back up. Um, it's a full-on recovery. I mean, Nvidia is a stock where people are just pumped out of their minds to buy at any level. I don't know if Intuit carries that same weight. Uh, Probably looking for like 672.95 would be your target to the bull side. We are at least opening above this 659.55 zone. Earnings again wasn't that bad, but just like Nvidia, we were kind of sitting relatively high on the chart. This was a nice retest gap. We pushed it up. There was already bulls in this thing profitable. I don't know. This is iffy. I'm not getting great risk reward unless this one either goes higher. So go short, 672.95, or to the downside, maybe trying to go long somewhere at the open of yesterday's candle, somewhere around 659.55. But at this point, we've closed this gap. So if there was people trying to take profits into that gap close, they've already done that. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a little extra choppy today. I wouldn't have a great incentive to really love to go bullish bearish. I think you have to be patient on that one, wait for either to pump or drop, and then go counter on that. See if it can stay with inside that candle from yesterday. It's a big one, so that should give us our range for today. You got Tesla and Nvidia. Yep, and then I think Gap is going. Joe's saying, what about the Gap? The Gap is gapping. Tesla just chilling again. Now, I mean, dear diary, today Tesla didn't move again. Gave it a lot of pump fakes in both directions, but nothing happened at the end of the day. We might see that same thing today. Still inside this high wave candle. Now we're pushing day 4. Out of the gate, look for you're very close to the support, so a small little drop on this one would be great. That would take us to 340.58. Anything underneath that, I'd have to still be leaning a little bit more to the bear side. I got bigger support back here, 328.62. To the higher side, your next resistance is going to come in right around 344.14 and then up to 346.66. This is going to be an interesting one. Again, I don't know because I'm just not that good of what day this thing breaks out. So this thing could go on for another week, especially with Thanksgiving come up. This could be in there for another week. Doesn't have to be. Maybe today is the day. I wish I could figure that information out. But I don't think a trade is really worth it on Tesla. That being said, you're just buying low, selling high as long as you're in this range. The only reason, and you're kind of limiting yourself on where your risk to reward is, unless you're taking small setups and just trying to grab 1.2s where you could. Until this thing, Emily says, look into your crystal ball. We want to know. It's on layaway. It's on layaway. If Tesla could break out, I might be able to afford a new crystal ball. It's crazy. Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? But yeah, I think the only way you're kind of positioned if you're already in this thing, I'd either be selling calls, maybe selling some puts. I don't even know if I'd sell puts around here, but selling calls if you got shares. And then you're just kind of hoping that the overall trend of bullish is the one that pans out. If you've got some kind of sentiment that this thing today's the day we break out after 4 days of just shop sideways, I'd still really be watching this high wave candle that gave you right down to the support, right down to the highs. So if today's the day, and you know today is the day, your crystal ball works better than mine. That's when you'd probably play it, and you'll get a really good push one way or the other once we break out. But I don't know if today we got that. I don't know if today we got that day. We'll see. Nvidia throwing in its own little high wave candle. So let's see if we do a little Tesla shuffle up here as well. Give me 4 days of sideways chop. The only thing with this one is you do have your 20 EMA. You got your like very close. We're into it. We got some of not into it the stock, but just into you know what I'm saying. It's Friday. Otherwise, we are allowing some of the bigger time frames to start catching up a little bit. But good high wave candle, right smack in the middle of it. Essentially, for right now, I have zero risk. I don't know. Flip a coin. Otherwise, if you get a drop, you're trying to buy it. If you're going up higher, you're trying to short it. And with your stops outside of those candles, right now you're smack in the middle in this one. So 50-50 chance. And probably does what Nvidia does and we stay inside. Maybe, I don't know for how long, if it's the same amount of days or not, but good high wave candle. Be careful of the wick up here. We did break out. We hit all-time highs on that, and we immediately sold off. We closed red on the day. And again, earnings were good, but you're getting a little tight on that risk reward if I was to invest long-term into Nvidia up here without any dips. Otherwise, yeah, watch this candle. Really, really good volume on it. Especially if this thing breaks bullish, it's gonna run. The pullback always going to be a little more scary, and we have tons of supports that are kind of coming in all the way down to like 133. So we will see. Let me take a look at the nope, not the GOP, the GAP. Yeah, they crushed it. I believe they also increased their guidance as well, but they were estimated to get earnings per share almost 58 cents. They came in at 72, so 24% beat. They somehow snuck in an extra 20.79 million, and they don't even carry the Yeezys anymore. Unbelievable. No Yeezys for the Gap. But yeah, good gap up on this one. I think this one they used to have a good short float, but I don't know if it still does. Let me see. Let me see if this one's still in that short float category. Yeah, 14.5% still. So not bad. You're definitely going to be squeezing some shorts out. Opening into a small resistance, nothing too crazy. I think the next level up is 26.71. However, if that short float really kicks in, there might be room up to 28.68. Otherwise, we are up a lot on this gap up. So and it is technically a retest gap as well. How is the gap not on my watch list? That's crazy. For the record, GOP wasn't on my watch list either. Interesting. I would love to see kind of a pullback on this one, but it depends if that squeeze kicks in or not. That's it. If we start really, I mean, we are definitely trapping some bears. But if we could go, if we could start pushing, give me maybe a high wave candle. We have a lot of room still to the all-time highs. I think that was probably $35. No, even higher, 45. We've had a decent amount of time of just sideways chop right at that 200. So really good gap. No pun intended, but kind of. All right, let's see. Put it on the watch list. Coinbase. Good old Coinbase. Rug pulling everyone. Hmm. Um, clear as day, double top. Almost head and shoulders, but that is stretching. So like this would be my head. We just need that next shoulder to come in, and then it would look a little bit like this. Um, Bitcoin was flying again. We're still waiting for that 100K print on Bitcoin. But even as we're kind of approaching these higher levels, coin is just still flopping around. I did go over this one in the afternoon room yesterday. Just some people were interested because they got pretty good premiums and put premiums, things like that. I I would like to see Coinbase back down here, right around like 255 zone, which means we got to pretty much. I think the chart ends up looking something like that, inverted head and shoulders, possibly, unless Bitcoin breaks 100K and we just go absolutely crazy. Then maybe you have a second showing in Coinbase. But this is already a huge move. I think if it gets down to 255, that's where I'm going to try to sell some puts down to like 200, 225 maybe. Um, to try to catch a bounce or just collect premium. Otherwise, we are in this sideways chop. The one thing I would say is you do have your last level of support, and I think that's probably a good one. That's 284.63. So if we come a little bit lower, fantastic. Right where we're opening today, and we are gapping down, but we are underneath that last support. So I put that as resistance somewhere around 292.24, maybe even up till 293.33. And if we could get through that, you got targets to the bull side, which again, we're still inside yesterday's range at the very lows of it. I don't know if I want to take that shot on Coinbase up here for some kind of a bounce, but your target to the high side today would be 306.98. Do rest of coins bounce once Bitcoin hits 100K? Crypto space is weird, but yeah, typically, at least from what we've seen, is once Bitcoin kind of hits those targets, and you're already kind of seeing some of the altcoins running a little bit, but once you have Bitcoin kind of leads the movement first, once they start hitting targets, which around 100K on Bitcoin would be a big, massive, at least psychological number, maybe we could break through it and you get that push to like 1001, 1002. I think eventually there is a probable rug pull as there's targets up here. And then people will take that money and then start pushing that into the altcoin universe, and you can kind of see that pushing as Bitcoin either does nothing or it gets that bit of a pullback. So it looks like altcoins are starting to wake up a little bit. And then after the altcoins, you see the rotation back kind of into the bigger names, the bigger Bitcoin established, safer, and you kind of wait for that next move. But yep, it's already seems like it's already starting. We got AZN. Why does why does it look so good? I feel like it looks so good that it's bad. Why that looks it looks a little too good, Frank. I don't know if I trust it because it looks good. Targets, I guess, would be my concern. It is a technical retest gap from yesterday. I don't think we get all the way back down there. I'd be kind of surprised if we do. Look for a small pullback, 65.52. If it could hold that, great. Your first target up takes you to 66.26, and then I got a longer term. If we go really crazy on this one, probably 67.29 would be my target for today. That gap looks annoyingly good though. Yeah, they're gonna probably trap me on this one. I like it. I like it. The question is, AZN, are you ready to take my money? We'll see. We got to get that on the list. Um, I don't think they have a short float, really. I'd be shocked if they did. Let's see. But if we get a short float on that thing too, nah, yeah. 0.15, so hardly any. Interesting. Datadog, DDOG. Fantastic breakout 2 days ago. Hanging out for one day, nice little gap up. And it is continuing. Again, I do think it continues. It's kind of the same situation we had yesterday, though, where this is a retest gap, and maybe the candle looks something similar to this. We just didn't really pull down into any levels that I was like really interested in buying. If it came all the way back down, close this gap to, which I think at one point we do. But if we close the gap to like 135.57, that's where at least I'll be interested in buying some Datadog. Otherwise, if you're in it, this looks like all those other stocks that just break out and just continuously run. Not a lot of resistance to deal with, but this is a retest gap. So for me, again, you could take it as soon as the bell rings and run bullish, and it might absolutely work. But if you do that same trade over 1,000 times, you're probably going to come up short on that P&L. So I'd have to let it at least retest. I don't want to short this thing. It's got the momentum to the bull side. And if it does what it did yesterday, I just won't be in Datadog today. Getting some of that breakout would have been good if you were already in it. I think getting in here bullish, it's tough. Today, look for like that 144.33 for that pullback. Otherwise, that is the morning bell. So wait, hold on. One. Well, that's the morning bell. Oh, yeah, Oh, that's incredible. Okay. Everybody on YouTube, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. You guys are incredible, and I'll catch you guys all.